Hi, everybody. Let me see here, get to share screen. And we tested this earlier, so let's see if it all goes well. You're getting a neat preview. There we go. Yes, are you sharing my,
Perfect.
Are you seeing my slides? Yes. All right. All right. So welcome, in this case, to TaxonWorks, brought to you by the Species File Group. So I'm Deb Paul, I'm Biodiversity Informatics Community Liaison, and formerly some of you may know me as having been the Workforce and Capacity Development Manager at IDIG Bio. So here we are a software development community. We are building tools that help researchers describe life on Earth. We spread the gamut from biodiversity informaticians to collection manager, to people who are managing the database, systems administration, to database architects, to people doing data quality and data checking for getting data into such things as the catalog of life. Dmitry Mozerin works on the Global Names Project, which helps you verify, parse, and find taxon names. TaxonWorks, which we're going to talk more about, and the Catalog of Life, where we have Yuri Roskov and Jeff Ower working as part of the international team that helps populate the Catalog of Life. We're located in Illinois at the Natural History Survey. So what is TaxonWorks? It's more than a database. So some of us think of a database as a place we store things and then we can generate reports like rows and columns in a spreadsheet, or we might be able to generate a graph. But when we say the word software collection management tool, we often are surprised. And in this case, it is a workbench. It provides more than that. So it's a tool where you can do things with your data that you need to do for your research. Publish an interactive key, create a matrices, keep your nomenclatural data separate from your working taxonomic morphospecies. So it is very much designed to be a community data management tool. So in speaking of community, we encourage groups to work together on the areas that they are interested in, the taxonomic groups. We have different ways to keep in touch, weekly open meetings, Slack and Gitter, email and listserv. We have community documentation, and we have a yearly event, TaxonWorks Together, and we work with both developers and adopters. So we're not just server side where we're serving, but we actually include and invite, it's all open source, developers to our table to expand the use and features of functions of this software. You can find out more here in our events page for how to join us or find out more. Focusing on nomenclature in TaxonWorks, I wanted to start out by pointing out a few other features. So the ability to manage your source publications, again, to generate keys, to manage your collection objects, whatever you might have collected, to assert biological associations and track what those might be. And I'll give you an example in a few slides. Here you can get a taste of something about the user interface, and we'll talk a bit more about that. But this is an example of a name and the history of that name. So this is very much nomenclature. The references needed to assert all of these things in this history, and something about issues that might be present in the data. Who's using TaxonWorks and what are they using it for? Cool graphic, right? But what does it mean? If you look carefully at the top, you'll see blue is nomenclature, red is digitization, descriptive work, so describing new species or redescribing, or they are in orange, literature data in green, geospatial data in purple. So each circle is a different project in TaxonWorks. So clearly this group is working on whatever is blue, right? And orange. Other projects, mostly red. An example would be the Odonate group. So they're a group, the Odonata researchers who are managing their names for the most part in TaxonWorks. You can see they're managing their nomenclature together as a collaborative, and they're also doing descriptive work for the most part. A little smidgen of digitizing specimen information, probably related to the publication of those names, yes? So again, coming back to that nomenclature page again, then you wonder about things like what this software can do for you when it comes to managing your names. And so we'll talk a little bit more about specifics, like what in the heck does this soft validation thing mean over here? Other things you can do, we don't have time to talk about, but I wanted to have a teaser, was things like how do you add a new combination? How do you indicate that it's a type specimen? Can you download all your nomenclature that you have in here? Yes. Can you get your stats through the API or through some sort of lookup? How many species for this particular genus, right? And ping your database anytime you would like for that information. Look at the distribution of the names that you're currently working with, that your temporary names, for example. So inside TaxonWorks, if you're working as a group, what does that look like? So we have the ability of you to look at your group as a total entity and say, let's say for last year, how many names have been added and by whom? And this allows you, in this case, this is WASP researchers. There's about, I'd say 50 of them inside this collaborative, and then I'd say about 15 to 20 of them are active regularly. And inside this database in the last year, you can see for 2020 through 2023, who's been actively adding taxon names and how many. And you can do that for all the different objects that you can create inside TaxonWorks. It's motivating. Not only is it allowing you to track your progress, but as you see that progress, the group gets very enthusiastic. Notice I mentioned that we keep nomenclature separate from temporary names in TaxonWorks. We also build in Nomen software, which is the ICZN rules for data validation. So if you're wanting to make sure that your names are following all the rules, our software helps you do that and tells you where things might be missing that you could fill out, like etymology or something like that. Or it might tell you, hey, I can fix this for you. Maybe there's a missing field, but I know you filled out another field and I can derive information and you can click fix and it'll fix it for you. I'll talk more about citations by source in a moment. Here, if we dig down into adding a new name, you can see you can add original combinations, subsequent combinations, and you can share the relationship between names. Adding your sources, your source information to TaxonWorks is easy. There's a batch import. It works much like the tools that many of you are familiar with, only the nice thing is sources are shared in TaxonWorks. So if someone else has already added a source in their project, you can see it in your project. And in addition to that, you know that sometimes you need to output a bibliography. It's very easy in TaxonWorks to output that in a comma separated file or in HTML or in BibTeX as you need it for publication. Here's what it looks like when you might be entering one by hand, a source, or you can go up here and ping crossref, or you can add a BibTeX record and it'll populate this data for you. So for a given source, in which case this is Woolley et al. 2017, I went and said, show me all the citations that come out of this source paper, which is 150 pages long. And someone went, of course, and found all the taxon names that were brought to life inside that paper, all the OTUs, all the taxon name relationships, biological associations, et cetera. And once you have all that data, then you can easily ask the database, show me all the citations that come from a particular source. What about getting your data out of TaxonWorks? Well, you can, once your data are all in there, click on one of those little boxes I showed you and say, make me a catalog of life data package. And it takes all those lovely names and packages them up in the format to get them into this resource, which will then eventually feed potentially the catalog of life. This is another nice tool, by the way. You can, every time you pivot your data, you find new issues that you need to address.
Hey, Deb, I'd
Yes.
love to hear more, but if you can wrap up.
Yep, I can. I'm almost done. I'll be quick. Catalog of life, one of the big tool that people find very useful is printing out names. So they can, at any level, pick a name and print out that nomenclature and all the names and the children underneath. You can create your own data site, your own website, pulling the data from TaxonWorks. This is an example. You can go to wcolite.com. This is software we are building, which is almost live. You can go look at it now. Taxon Pages, not TaxonWorks. It's a companion software tool that you can take all your data that's in TaxonWorks and publish it to a public website. And with that, and you want to find out more, here's all the different ways to find us.